in this lesson, we'll begin to paint and sculpt the grip. So looking at ZBrush, this is the last piece that we're going to be working with. And so I want to use this piece to actually illustrate an issue that you may come across and something, kind of a way that you can fix that really easily using GoZ. So looking at this grip, everything looks okay. And then we go to subdivide it. And actually down here you can see that the end part of the point down here is not really connected. And so when we subdivide that, it smooths it and pulls it apart. So we actually need to fix that before we move forward. Well, it's really easy to do. Now we haven't done anything here in ZBrush, so actually we don't need to send this back to Cinema 4D. We'll just go ahead and jump over there, and we'll go ahead and look at the grip itself. Okay, and then if we were to select one of these points, you can see how it's not connected. So there are several ways that we can fix this. One way to fix this would just be to go ahead and select across those points, go to weld, and weld them together. And now you can see that that's a single point. We could also drop in a connect object here and use that to connect everything. So there are a few different ways to do it. I'm just going to real quickly go ahead and weld those. And drag across there. And just make sure we got everything. I think I already got that one. Everything welded together. So now, if we take a look at this, you can see that all these points are connected. So we need to now update our Z tool with this new piece of geometry. So with that grip selected, okay, I'm going to go back into ZBrush and I want to go into the preferences and I'm going to import a subtool. I'll go to Cinema 4D and then choose GoZ with just the grip selected. Okay. So go ahead and let that update. And now if we take our grip and now subdivide it, you can see that everything is connected just as it should be. So you can see with just a couple of clicks, we're able to go in and fix an issue that we have here with our geometry just by going really quickly back to Cinema 4D, doing some changes on the points there, and then bringing that back in. So if you come across those issues with any of your geometry, just keep in mind that you don't have to worry about it. You can just send that back over, do any of the changes you want to make in Cinema 4D, and then bring it back over into your model. So having said that, let's go ahead and start actually doing our sculpting. And so I'm going to just subdivide this, and I want to define the area where this claw is going to start. And so we just use the AM standard, and I want to increase the resolution even a little bit more, and go ahead and turn on symmetry. And I think maybe right about here we can sort of define that. Okay, and then I'm just going to go into the standard, use the standard brush with a freehand stroke and maybe a circular alpha here, and go into Z add, turn off RGB, and do start sculpting. And for the claw or the tooth, I just want to make it kind of bring out some detail here. I'll take the Z intensity down a bit. Okay, and just start to draw in those striations. Maybe a little bit too down, a little bit too low. So just kind of bring in those striations and kind of fade them back in to the claw there as they come out. Okay, and just work our way out to the ends. The end should be, we'll keep that fairly smooth. Okay, just kind of building that in. Okay, if the claw is not really shaped the right way, you can use a move to fix that. Okay, so we can go get our move. Okay, going to the side, we'll turn off perspective and just kind of pull this out a little bit to maybe kind of sharpen that up, add a little bit of shape to it. Okay, maybe bring this back in. Alright, then go back to our standard and continue sculpting on this. Okay, getting a smaller brush, we can go ahead and subdivide again to get something that's a bit more high res and really make it rough up here at the top where it's going to connect into the kind of the tang inside the hilt there. And so we'll just come in and bring that down, smoothing that out as we go. Now up here we can start to add a little bit more kind of detail up here, so kind of drag out some rough detail at the top here. Okay, kind of bring that out. Okay, we can do the same thing here. We'll just change our alphas to this alpha 58 and kind of drag that down, turning on Z sub and taking our intensity down, and we can start to create these striations coming down along here if we want to add that in to the mix. Okay, really thinking about this as being a different type of material than the rest of the grip. So really treating this more as a kind of bone or tooth kind of look to it. Okay, we can start to paint this if we get kind of a yellowish off-white gray kind of color. Okay, going back to a freehand stroke with our regular alpha and turning on RGB, turning off Z sub with RGB intensity all the way up, and we can start to paint through this. Okay, so this is kind of a dark, kind of the darkest that I would want it to be, so we'll go ahead and paint through with this. Okay, and then we can maybe come in with a lighter version here with maybe color spray and just start to break this up a little bit. Okay, if you want to use a different alpha to do that, kind of break things up a bit. Okay, now it's probably, we want to darken up some of these inner areas, so we'll get kind of a dark version of this. And let's dial our draw size down and then dial our RGB intensity way down. And we can just start to work in some darkness in some of these areas, and it just adds to the depth of what we're creating. So you can see it's just kind of bringing out that detail a little bit more. Just adding in kind of that dirt and shadowing in there. Okay, especially up here at the top. Okay, I would probably leave the end of this a little bit more clean, a little bit more light. Okay, we can also come in on surface. We can add a little bit of surface noise. Take that strength way down, and you can see all that, you can add that color variation in there, and we can just apply that to the mesh. Okay, so we real quickly get something that looks pretty good there for the end of our grip. Okay, let's go ahead and just split this into a couple of lessons. We'll come in the next lesson once we've got this claw done and kind of do some work on the rest of the grip to make it kind of match up. So we'll go ahead and do that next.